Councilor Gamache, will you sit in for Councilor Manning Martin, please? Thank you. We have a proposed zoning amendment, amend section 4.2.5, business under schedule of use regulations by adding as a matter of right in the light industrial IL zoning district, theater and public hall. I think the best way to do this is there is an applicant that is looking for us to change that, and he's represented by Attorney Kelty. Attorney Kelty, would you like to come up and fill in the subcommittee as to?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilor.
I would abdicate the seat to the Ward 3 Councilor.
Actually, thank you very
Councilor
much.
Peach.
I'm sorry, I should have asked.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilor Peach, will you sit in on that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Attorney Kelty, please.
So, for the record, my name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney with offices at 40 Lowell Street here in Peabody, and I'm appearing on behalf of Ray Felidi and Ray's Pulaski acquisition entity, and I have provided an application letter, missionary letter to the City Council, in which I've asked that the City Council and Planning Board consider amending the zoning ordinance so as to allow theaters and public hall in the IL zoning district. The reasoning behind that was that my client, Mr. Felidi, owns property at 23 Old County Road, and that's the former, going to show my age here, that's the former Ivory system. And after being the Ivory system, it was, I think he made plastic bags, some kind of plastic insulation or something such. But in any event, Ray has an assortment of folks that are occupying the premises at the current time. And we were seeking an amendment to the zoning ordinance that would allow theater and public hall in the IL zoning district by right. When I was at the planning board last week, planning board has made a recommendation in which they say that we should define theater and public hall, and that further we should consider it by special permit rather than by right. That apparently has, we were able to make the front page of the Salem News today, and that piqued the curiosity and interest of many neighbors, and I think that many councilors have been approached by neighbors who have concerns about this use. And I've had the opportunity to speak with several councilors, most notably Councilor Peach, and we've had a discussion about perhaps withdrawing my request and revisiting this as perhaps an element of the Mill Overlay District. Since that's where I'm located, we could ask that my client's parcel be identified as having available the overlay district, and then if it needed to be added as a use, that could be. But that would allow us to skirt the concern that, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, I mean in a positively, we could avoid the notion of theaters and public halls and wedding venues, or for lack of a better term, social event venues cropping up at the Bleachery, down off of Walnut Street, Paul Ferragamo's property. Those are all IL zoning districts, and they are more surrounded by very residential areas. So as such, I think that I'm more than willing to withdraw this particular aspect from the consideration of the council, and then at the full council, or the committee, and at the full council meeting, I would withdraw as well, if Councilor Peach would prefer us to approach this from the different standpoint that I suggested this evening by involving ourselves in the Mill Overlay District.
Councilor Peach, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have the opportunity to speak with several residents and with Attorney Kelty about this zoning change. When it first came to us, I didn't think that it belongs in the IL district, and I thought that was a big part of the discussion at the planning board, as well as the concern, does this belong in IL? Because we do have several IL districts throughout the city of Peabody. My other large concern is the definition of public hall, which was also a concern by community development and the planning board, and making sure that whatever we define that as that is by right and special permitted uses in other zones in the city, and it could impact them, is vetted by the city solicitor before it comes to the council. So whether this is pursued in IL as presented or withdrawn, and we can work over our Christmas break and our holiday break to think of other ways that we could incorporate a use like this into other parts of our city zoning and make sure those definitions are vetted by our city solicitor before they come back to the council, I would be in full support of that, but I'll defer to my other councilors.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Any other, Councilor McGinn, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so the majority of the balance of the IL districts are in Ward 2, and I definitely have concerns with that impacted neighbors on Oak Street, Winter Street, Washington Street. You know, this would be a serious concern for me. So the approach of withdrawing this and pursuing the mill overlay alternative, I would be supportive of that. I would likely not be supportive of this approach to introduce it to all existing IL. So I just wanted to get that out there. I think it's a kind of a creative alternative Councilor Peach has come up with here to go that route, and that seems like it might be a workable alternative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Anyone else? Councilor Daigle, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And at this point, I tend to agree. I think all other theater and public hall uses across the board are special permit. So I think this certainly should not be by right, but by special permit, whether it's IL or Mills or the overlay district. And I'd also like to get an opinion from the building commissioner on his thoughts of the definition of public hall, because ultimately we're going to turn to he or she to interpret that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Councilor Rossignol, then Councilor Turco, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. To be honest with you, I was going into this meeting fully expecting not to vote for this as it is constituted, because I think in the IL, it paints too wide of a brush, and I think if we went to just by special permit only, you could actually constitute that as spot zoning if we're picking and choosing where in the IL we would actually want it to go. So, Councilor Peach, I give you all the credit for thinking of this alternative, because this is something that I would be amendable to. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rossignol. Councilor Turco, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I want to say thank you to Councilor Peach also. I wasn't prepared to vote for this tonight, and I'm glad that we're going a different way. But before you withdraw, Councilor Kelty, I wanted to ask Mr. Bellavance, I believe we're still waiting on a definition for mill buildings, so that's going to be the next issue if he does come back for. I will defer to Councilor Peach. It looks like she has an answer.
Through the chair, Councilor Turco, there will be, before the planning board, a definition of a mill building in a rezone that I've been working on with community development, redefining a mill building and expanding the overlay district to include other parcels. So We'll see that in January.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so just before you resubmit, Jack, if we could wait for that definition so we actually know that the building we're referencing is a mill building. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Anything else? Councilor Peach, you okay? Mr. Kelty, you'd like to make a formal withdrawal?
Sure. I would respectfully request that the subcommittee allow me to withdraw this zoning amendment from the consideration of the subcommittee, and I will do this again at the regular meeting when this matter is before you this evening. I'll withdraw it again.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Councilor Peach, will you make a formal request to withdraw, please? The motion?
So moved, yeah. What-
Yeah? All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilors
Mr.
Rossignol.
Mr. Chairman, on the motion, this is a motion to accept the withdrawal, is that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry about the clarification. Yes, sir.
Councilors Rossignol.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty.
Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. We take a motion to adjourn, please.
Moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
going to get started in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, everybody. Good evening. We're going to call to order the Committee of the Whole. I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole tonight, Thursday, December 8th, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. I'd accept a motion to convene into executive session to discuss pending litigation regarding
moved,
the
Mr.
tolls.
Chairman.
You heard the motion, and we intend to come back into public session at the conclusion of the executive session. You heard the motion from Councilor Gould. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Roll call.
We're going to take a roll call on that. Excuse me.
Sorry. Councilors Gould. Rozignol.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gamache. Turco.
Yes.
Daigle. Melville.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
We're going to head downstairs to the room that we've used in the past downstairs. Councilors, we're going to come back in a public session. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We're back in public session. I take a motion to adjourn. Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. We're adjourned. Yep. The meeting's going to come to order. Good evening. The City Council will convene on Thursday, December 8th, to hold a regular meeting at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing any and all business via in-person and remote participation in accordance with Chapters 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Sections 20A, B, and C of the Acts of 2021, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. This meeting is being televised by Peabody Access Television on cable channel 9. 2. Real-time public comment during the public meeting can be addressed to the Peabody City Council using the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. Users may view the meeting and make any comment or questions to the chair via the audio option. Please visit www.peabody-ma.gov for Zoom information. This meeting is being taped by the Peabody Access Television and is also being recorded by the City Council stenographer. Can you please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. If there's no objection, councilors, I was going to move to, under suspension of the rules, item 7C, the appointment of Thomas St. Pierre as Inspector and Building Commissioner. Can I get a motion to take that? Here's the motion under suspension of rules to move to item 7C. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening to you. Good evening, councilors. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm here today for the appointment of Thomas St. Pierre as our building commissioner. Mr. St. Pierre lives in the city of Peabody, knows the city well. He has been a building inspector now in the city of Salem for 19 years. He did assist us back in 2013 when we were in between building commissioners. At that time, he came in for several months to help us out. And has been currently the last couple of weeks working with our office staff and our inspectors. And it's been great to be able to bring him in because, again, he knows the city well, knows a lot of our issues, has working relationships with all the members of the other inspectors in our department. And I think he'd be an excellent fit as we have this period of time, which I hope will be brief, until we bring in a full-time commissioner. Happy to answer any questions on that. As part of the packet, you do have an intermunicipal agreement, which is the same thing we did several years back, as I mentioned, an agreement between the City of Salem and City of Peabody that he would be working with the City of Peabody during this period of time. He's been working with us on Wednesdays, providing assistance, and has been on call when things arise. I wanted to mention Dan Terranzoni, our building inspector, who has stepped up also and is providing some assistance during this period of time. Thankfully, we have a very veteran group in our building commissioner's office, and they've been able to keep things running in an excellent manner. But I think Tom will be able to help us out and provide the assistance, the certifications that we need during this period of time. We will be advertising the full-time position, I would expect within the next week. That'll be advertised. Happy to answer any questions. I did want to mention one other thing, if I could, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. On 7D, actually, I'll take that up. Could after, if I could have just one brief moment.
So we're still on items 7C, the appointment. Any questions from any councilors? Any questions? Councilor Turco.
Mayor, very quickly, in January, you're going to have a new mayor in Salem. Will this agreement stand, after January when Mayor Driscoll becomes lieutenant governor?
Yes, this will stand. This will carry for that office moving forward. I put it as a 6-month agreement. I don't think we'll need that 6 months, but I put 6 months, giving us a little bit of flexibility there. But yes, Council, that would carry over to the next administration.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other councilors? Seeing none, can I get a motion? Councilor Gamache.
Is Mr. St. Pierre here tonight?
He's not here tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Any other councilors? Councilor Gould.
Motion to approve the request by the mayor.
The motion would be to receive and approve. You heard the motion from Councilor Gould. We'll take a roll call vote.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gamache. Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Well, I think we'll take up 7D if there's no objection. Move on to 7D. You heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. All in favor? Any opposed? As a vote, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Very briefly, on the second name listed, Keith Slattery, as the Zoning Board of Appeals, I'm seeking a 1-year term for Keith. I did list him as an alternate. He's not an alternate. He's a regular member. He was moved up when a vacancy was open earlier, actually a couple of months ago. But I just wanted to make sure he'd be approved as a regular member, not an alternate. That was an error on my end.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Gamache.
Yeah, if there's no objections, I'd like to move on this.
Did any other councilors? Councilor Turco.
Could we do what we did last year and withhold the Director of Public Services from the full vote?
Yep. Councilor Gamache, so we'll hold that. We'll do a separate vote for that.
Okay. Move approval of the submission for Kevin Kelly, Assistant Director of Public Services, 12/31/23, one-year term. Keith Slattery, Zoning Board of Appeals, 12/31/23, one-year term. Vincenzo Sestino, Cable Commission, 12/31/23, to expire. Edwin Silva, Cable Commission, alternate member, 12/31/23. Harry Schwartz, Cemetery Commission, 12/31/23. Faye Colhonen, Cemetery Commission, 12/31/23. Christopher Morphus, City Collector, 12/31/23. Colleen Ruffing, Community Development Authority, 12/31/23. William Woods, Community Development Authority, 12/31/23. Erica Barrett, Commission on Disability, 12/31/23. Robert Caldwell, Commission on Disability, 12/31/23. Anthony Pacello, Commission on Disability, 12/31/23. Mark Menard, Commission on Disability, 12/31/23. Michael Rizzo, Community Preservation Commission, 12/31/23. Darren Kelly, Community Preservation Committee, 12/31/23. Richard St. Pierre, Community Preservation Committee, 12/31/23. Andrew Metropolis, Community Preservation Committee, 12/31/23. Deborah Ryan, Community Preservation Commission, 12/31/23. Edward Neary, Community Preservation Committee, 12/31/23. Corrine Pramus, Community Preservation Committee, 12/31/23. Jeff Schmays, Community Preservation Committee, 12/31/23. Stuart Lazars, Community Preservation Committee, 12/31/23. Arthur Athas, Conservation Commission, 12/31/23. Michael Vivaldi, Conservation Commission, 12/31/23. Amanda Green, Conservation Commission, 12/31/23. Rita Marie Cavicchio, Conservation Commission, 12/21/33. John Sacramone, Council on Aging, 12/31/23. Jennifer Davis, Director of Parks and Recreation and Forestry, 12/31/23. Joseph Daly, Emergency Management Director, 12/31/23. James Hafey, Facilities Director, 12/31/23. Joanne Roden, Farm Manager, 12/31/23. Paul Fukas, Plumbing and Gas Inspector, 12/31/23. John Andruszkiewicz, Historical Commission, Alternate, 12/31/23. Jeffrey Budd, Historical Commission, Alternate, 12/31/23. Beth Brennan O'Donnell, Human Resources Director, 12/31/22. Mark Menard, Local Building Inspector, 12/31/23. Dan Terranzoni, Local Building Inspector, 12/31/23. Peter Benavides, Network Administrative Database Specialist, 12/31/23. Maureen Salmon, Outdoor Education Coordinator, 12/31/23. Brian Grant, Superintendent of Parks and Forestry, 12/31/23. Dan Doucette, Purchasing Agent, 12/31/23. Peter Bakula, Rent Control Board, 12/31/23. James Collins, Sealer of Weights and Measures, 12/31/23. Diane Full, Treasurer, 12/31/23. Stephen Patton, Veterans Agent, 12/31/23. And Sean Mahoney, Wire Inspector, 12/31/23. So moved.
You have the motion from Councilor Gamache. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On page 4 there, Beth Brennan O'Donnell, is that a typo, 12/31/22? It was read that way too, so I just want the record correct.
That was a typo. It would be 12/31/23.
So if we could just correct that in the
Thank you,
motion.
Counselor.
We'll amend that motion.
Did I say 22?
You did.
Trust myself. Okay.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Welton. O'Neill. McGinn.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Motion carries
Councilor
10 to
Gamache.
0.
I've heard the what do you want? Move approval of Robert Labossiere, Director, Public Services Director, 12/31/23. So moved.
You heard the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Turco.
No.
Daigle.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Motion carries 9 to 1.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mayor.
President. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, moving on to item 4A. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, 4A, move under suspension of rules to receive late communication number 3, and that's an, okay, so moved.
Is the motion to receive and accept? All in favor? Any opposed? Is the
Yes,
vote?
and grant permission to continue this matter to the next meeting. So moved.
All right, moving on. Before we go on to item 4B, I'm going to go out of order to reports of committee, industrial and community development, as it does relate to item 4B. Councilor Gould, do you want to give your report of committee?
Thank you, Mr. President. We met this evening. In attendance was myself, Councilor Daigle, Councilor Peach filling in for Councilor Manning Martin, Councilor McGinn, and Councilor Rozignol. In discussion was to amend Section 4.2.5 business under Schedule of Use Regulations by adding as a manner of by right in the light industrial zoning district, theater, and public hall. We had discussion on it. And there was a motion to withdraw by Attorney Kelty, and I'd like to report that out. There was a 5-0 vote to accept the withdrawal. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. You heard the motion from Councilor Gould. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. So that's the report of committee, and then Attorney Kelty, you're going to be withdrawing item 4B.
You want that now? John Kelty, 40 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. And I would respectfully request that my petition for zone change to add a theater and a public hall in the IL zoning district, that amendment be withdrawn from the consideration of the City Council.
Thank you. We already made the motion, so we're all
Mr.
set.
Chairman,
Yes,
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Gould.
excuse me. Councilor Rosenthal made a good point. Don't we have to open that up?
Oh, the hearing.
No. Okay, withdrawing. Thank you.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just some housekeeping. Should we receive 8J and late 1 and refer to that matter? So move.
You heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Okay, moving on to item 4C, special permit. The clerk will read the public notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 8th, 2022, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from Isaiah Espinal, 228 Bruce Street, Lawrence, Mass., for a special permit requesting to operate a personal services establishment, a barbershop, in a BN zoning district at 194 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under Calendar on the homepage, or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Ryan Melville, City Council President.
Attorney Kelty, you want to just
Thank
give
you,
us a summary of what they're trying to do?
Mr. President, members of the City of Peabody City Council. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I practice law at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, and I am here on behalf of Isaiah Espinal, who has entered into a lease agreement with Helder Manuel Braz, the owner of the property at 194 Washington Street in Peabody. There is this is property right across from Diorce's. It used to be a hydroponic facility where they've trained people to grow hydroponically without the use of soils and water. And this gentleman has asked to obtain a special permit for a service establishment. The space that he will operate out of is 312 square feet. And I said in my, I provided you with office hours, the working hours. I've expressed that there are no parking spaces for this particular facility. I had said in my narrative that my client would be happy to begin with one chair, and he would perhaps grow his business to as many as 4. I think in retrospect, there aren't room for space for chairs. And the fact of the matter is that there is no parking, and I've had conversations with Peter McGinn, the ward councilor, and I think that Councilor McGinn will offer some conditions to this special permit that we're happy to accept, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have, the council may have.
Thank you, Attorney Kelty. Anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anybody on Zoom wish to speak in favor regarding this matter? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in opposition regarding this? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in opposition? There's nobody on Zoom. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. This property is at the location Attorney Kelty described. It's situated on a busy section of Washington Street, approaching the major intersection of Washington Street, Foster Street, and Swampscott Ave. It's on the corner of Washington and Blaney, and Dustin is a short distance away. This building includes 3 residential units, you heard Attorney Kelty talk about the parking. For the combined use of the residential and the commercial use, there would be, under zoning, there'd be an 8-space requirement total. The building has only 4 off-street parking spaces. So as Attorney Kelty alluded to, I am supportive of a small 1 or 2 person operation at this location, but not of an operation that would cause customer and employees parking to create issues on Washington, Blaney, and Dustin. There's restricted parking already on Blaney, so I don't want to create a situation as we've experienced with similar types of operations on other busy streets in similar zoning districts. So as Attorney Kelty mentioned, I've made my concerns known to them, and the applicant's agreeable to the 2-employee limit. So I support this application that includes that condition, and at this time, Mr. President, I defer to other councilors.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Does any other councilors have any questions regarding this application? Any other councilors? Councilor McGinn?
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
Heard the motion to close the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the application from Isaiah Espinal, 228 Bruce Street, Lawrence, Mass., for a special permit requesting to operate a personal service establishment barbershop in a BN zoning district at 194 Washington Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Section 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following conditions. In accordance with the special permit application, business hours of operations are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday. Services rendered at the location shall be by a maximum of 2 service providers at any given time. For the avoidance of doubt, zoning ordinance Section 5 shall apply, including the Peabody Downtown Design Standards Foster Walnut Street Subdistrict, to the extent such standards pertain to exterior renovations, signs, and lighting, and the applicant shall submit an integrated pest management plan to the Health Department. So moved.
Heard the motion from Councilor McGinn. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gamache. Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4D, Class 2 motor vehicle license. Clerk will read the public notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 8th, 2022, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from LA Holding LLC, 29 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting the transfer of a Class 2 motor vehicle license at said 29 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Ryan Melville, City Council President.
Thank you. Would the applicant give us your name and address for the record and what you're looking to do?
Good evening. For the record, my name's Ethan Bonzalitis. I'm an attorney practicing law at 246 Andover Street in Peabody, and I'm here on behalf of LA Holdings LLC with respect to this evening's transfer request. And with me this evening is Mr. Alex Silva. I know that most of the information that the council needs concerning this proposal was discussed at our special permit hearing on August 25th. That was a few months ago, so I'll try to just briefly summarize my client's proposal. As you may remember, their property is a previously developed site. It contains 2 commercial buildings. One's a 2-story, one's a single-story building. The property in the past has been used as a used car dealership, but I believe it was last used as an engine repair facility, doing business as Don's Small Engine and Repair. Mr. Silva is going to be constructing an approximately 1,200 square foot addition to the 2-story building. He'll then do a complete interior and exterior renovation to both of the buildings, along with fixing up and renovating the parking area. He's going to use the property as a full-service automotive facility consisting of the sale of used cars, along with performing general automotive maintenance. This project does require 4 approvals. The first one we obtained was a variance from the Board of Appeals. The second one was site plan approval from the Planning Board. The third approval was the special permit issued by this council on August 25th, and the last approval would be this evening's transfer. As you may remember, there were no Class 2 licenses available when we obtained our special permit in August. Recently, my client entered into an agreement with Mr. Fitzgerald to purchase his Class 2 license, and that's obviously subject to obtaining this evening's approval. My client's business isn't a high-volume business. He anticipates no more than 3 or 4 customers on site at any time, maybe 10 to 15 customers per day, and then have approximately 6 employees. Lastly, Mr. Silver and his wife, Roberta Morrow, they own a very similar business as this in Chelsea. It does business as Boston Prime Cars, Inc. If this evening's transfer is approved, we are respectfully requesting that the license be issued in the name of Boston Prime Cars, Inc., rather than LA Holdings, LLC. And the reason for that is my client currently has an existing line of credit that's in the name of Boston Prime Cars, Inc., so it makes it much more easier from a financing point of view and from a tax point of view to have both licenses in the name of the same entity. Again, I have Mr. Silva here with me this evening, and we'll try to answer any questions that the council or the public may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience which wishes to speak in favor? Anybody in the audience wishes to speak in favor? Nobody on Zoom. Anybody in the audience wishes to speak in opposition? Anybody wish to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Gamache.
Yes, thank you. Reference the property again. It's the old Don's Hardware. It's kind of run down. When they came in August, they had said that they were going to fix up the building, make it look nice. It's the gateway to Peabody, so on Route 1. How many vehicles are you looking to have at that site?
We're anticipating approximately 45.
And you have the parking spots and all that stuff as pointed out?
Yes, it's all on the site plan.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors?
Move to close the public hearing.
Heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, any opposed to the vote? Councilor Gamache.
Yes, at this time, I move approval on the application from Boston Prime Cars, Inc., 29 Newbury Street, Peabody, Mass., requesting the transfer of a Class II motor vehicle license at said 29 Newbury Street, with the condition that there be no more than 45 vehicles on site for sale. So moved.
Heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the motion, I was just looking at the site plan. I'm trying to figure out where the 45 comes from. It says 55 spots, interior and exterior. Visitors parking is 5, employee parking is 6. So that would be down to 44. 2 handicap spots would bring you down to 42. I'm just trying to understand whether we've had some. I mean, this is. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll defer to.
Sorry for interrupting. Some vehicles are going to be inside the building?
Yes, there'll be a showroom.
Okay, and those would be included in the license?
That's correct.
Councilor Gamache.
Yeah, based on the calculation, is there a problem going to 40 vehicles?
Can we do the 42? Because I got the 25 spaces, I got the 6 in the showroom, that gives me 31. I got storage of another 11, that gives me 42.
Okay. As submitted on the site plan that you submitted, 42 vehicles, so moved.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. We're amending that to 42.
Correct.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Peach. Welton.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you very much. Just for a point of information, that is being transferred to now the Boston Prime Cars, Inc. Thank you, and have a great holiday.
All right, moving on to item 4E, special permit, New York Capital Investment Group. The clerk will read the public notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 8th, 2022, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom on the application from New York Capital Investment Group, LLC, 500 Turnpike Street, Canton, Mass., for a special permit requesting the expansion of use for an existing non-conforming car wash facility and installation of a new central vacuum system to replace existing vacuums at 27 Central Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 1.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Peabody City Council, Councilor Ryan Melville, City Council President.
Good evening. Can you just give us your name and address for the record,
Good
and a
evening.
summary of what the application is?
Yeah, Mr. President and council members. For the record, my name is Hal Chuba. I'm a consulting engineer with offices at 112 State Road in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and I'm here representing the applicant on this special permit application. As you read to the record, this is a special permit to enlarge an existing non-conforming use. In particular, it has to do with the enlargement of the vacuums at the facility. It's a car wash facility at 27 Central Street. It's been a car wash for a while. I know you're probably all familiar with the site. Currently it's under renovation. The exterior and the interior of the facility is under renovation, and we do have proper building permits to do the siding on the exterior.
Part of the, when I first submitted my application to the building inspector, I did show the number of vacuums, and back and forth with the building inspector, he informed me that this is a enlargement of existing non-conforming use. It would require a special permit from the city council, and that's why we're here. Just to give you a little history on the property, we are replacing, currently there are 3 old, what we refer to as the canister type vacuums. You're probably all familiar with the vacuum cylinder that sits on a pedestal or a concrete pedestal. They cone operated, they run 24 hours, there are no restriction or control. Also inside the facility, I was told there was 5 vacuums that serve the facility that used to be a full service. They used to wash the cars inside the building and then help the customers do the full-time job. And at one time, I believe, they used to have 6 to 8 employees. Now, the new owner, and I also have Mr. Ken Calabro, who is with Prestige Group, they operate 25 car washes in the north and south of the Boston area. And they call the Titanium Group or Prestige. I'm not sure if you're familiar with other facilities that they have. So they are in the car wash business, and they're expert in this. We would like, part of this application, we would like to install 14 vacuums to the south of the facade of the building. I did submit rendering of the building with the vacuums. They will be what we refer to as, this is a central system. The motor would be installed inside the building, so there'll be no emission of noise outside the building. And those vacuums will operate only between 7 a.m. in the morning and 7 p.m. in the evening during the winter hours, and 7 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. in the evening during summer times. And once the car wash facility is closed, they'll be shut down. There'll be no lighting on emission from the vacuums, and no noise. They won't be operating. Also, we are installing 2 pay stations at the entrance of the facility, and I believe it's shown on the site plan that I submitted to you. It's a pay station similar to what we refer to probably like a ATM machine. It doesn't emit any sounds or to the environment. It's just for the customer to prepay prior to enter the facility. I did submit the elevations, and I have some pictures of it too. I'm not sure if it was submitted with the application, but I do have some extra plans I can pass around if you're interested. And also, we did receive comments from the senior planner concerning the facility, and I know there was some concern about the traffic. I did have an email with Ms. Peach, I think at that time, and I indicated that I'll be here tonight and we can discuss further any concerns, and we're here to work with you basically to come up with a solution that it's acceptable to the neighbors and to everyone. We would like really to move on and complete the renovations for the facility.
Just one moment.
Mr. President, motion to receive item late 5.
Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote?
And I did submit a traffic plan to address the comments from the city planner. I believe you have, I think, Councilor Peach, you have a copy of the plan, and we are not opposed to any conditions that seem to be fit for that property, and we're here basically to work with you and the neighbors on the solution. We understand what the issues are. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor of this application? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in opposition? Does anybody wish to speak in opposition? Yep. Oh, yeah. No, please come up to the microphone. If you could,
Okay, thank you, sorry. My name is Anna Connolly. I live at 2 Monroe Street. I'm at the top of Monroe and Elm. And maybe I didn't understand everything, so bear with me. It's because of my hearing, so I apologize. My concern is we're kind of a small organic neighborhood right there, and I don't know how much this is going to, the traffic in our area has increased tremendously since my husband and I have moved there, and depending on what you do with traffic, it's going to add to a very tight neighborhood. This past year, I believe it was, I saw a little boy get hit right in front of my house on Monroe Street. I actually thought he was dead, but thank the Lord he lived. People fly down these streets, whatever, so I think we need to be very careful for the people who live there. I see mothers with children walking up Monroe, down Monroe, trying to get the buses and all. I'm just very concerned when the laundromat, and I'm sorry, the car wash, sorry, the way it is now, well, the way it was, did not affect our neighborhood. So I just ask that maybe you would take that into consideration, that we do have children living there, and thank you for your time.
thank you. Does anybody else in the audience wish to speak in opposition? Please come up, sir. Just give us your name and address for the record.
Do I push a button?
No, it's on. You can just speak right into it.
So that lovely lady was my wife. So John Connolly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to make a few points. My position, basically, for what it's worth, is that I would like the City Council to ask the new owner to maintain points of egress to and from Central Street, the way it's been historically. Now, you may say that's past the point where this can be dealt with, but that's my position. I think it should remain the way it was, coming and going to the car wash from Central Street. Just a few things I would want to say. This change in a flow pattern harms the neighborhood. You may or may not realize, some of you perhaps don't know this, but there are no sidewalks on Hardy Street or Monroe Court or Elm Court or Monroe Street. That's right, there are no sidewalks on any of those areas right now, none of them. Wallace Street has become congested because of the Haven from Hunger. We have cars now coming down, parking on Elm Street, and people coming and going with shopping carriages, bringing food, etc. That has impacted the neighborhood. I mentioned it because of congestion. I see this as a significant public safety issue. To me personally, the biggest issue of all is actually Monroe Court. Monroe Court is, it runs along parallel to the car wash, and it has an S curve in the road. When we go through there at 5 miles per hour because it's a blind spot. You come along, you've got to creep around the corner so you can see where to go. I won't go into all the stories about it, things I know, things I've seen, but it's a big safety issue, and people coming and going along Elm Court is outrageous to me to get to that car wash. It's a very, very bad idea. We have concerns also about the increased noise and pollution. I don't think there's a good way to do this, unfortunately. I can't say. I think that the position we're in now is bad choice. Which bad choice do you want? I don't think there's any good way to route the traffic. So I really don't want to go into all that. There's a bunch of things I think are not good ideas. But, I think it may be too late, but all I'm saying is that I think this whole thing is a mistake. I think the points of egress should remain the way they have been. At least 90+% of the cars coming and going historically came and went from Central Street. It's true, there was a back entrance, and occasionally people would come in the back entrance. I understand that, but it was a 5 to 10% thing. It was a very small thing. This is really a change of use, and it very much impacts the neighborhood. And there is a neighborhood there. This neighborhood's been around for a long time. It's literally hundreds of years old. And, I think it harms the neighborhood. And finally, the last thing I want to say is that I'm a little disappointed that all this work is going to be done now to upgrade Central Street. And here we are, literally a stone's throw from Central Street. I don't hear anything about the planning to fix this neighborhood. Where's the upgrade? The streets are not in a good position. We don't have sidewalks. Nobody's even talking about an upgrade. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Is anybody else in the audience wish to speak in opposition? Anybody else wish to speak in opposition? Anybody on Zoom wish to speak in opposition? Seeing none. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive items 8E, 8I, and late 2. So move.
Heard the motion from Councilor Peach. All in favor? Any opposed to the vote? Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have, when the car wash was sold, and we're all familiar with the Peabody car wash, and how it was a full-service car wash for many decades on Central Street. When it was sold and I saw the construction happening, I did reach out and speak with our building commissioner, one, to make sure that permits were pulled, but also to see, what are the plans for this car wash, especially noticing that the front of the car wash was closed off, which was the traditional entrance, as the residents have brought up. Conservatively, I'd say 90% of the cars that went into the car wash got a full service, and there was, for every 10 cars, maybe one went through the back entrance. So, but in speaking with the building commissioner, I was told, the applicant, as they mentioned, had just, brought this forward with the building department, and the vacuums really are what triggered the special permit process. So the way the car wash is built today, they could open tomorrow and they don't need our approval to operate. And that was the decision for their pre-existing non-conforming use, because they've always had access to the back. So I've been working with the neighbors and speaking with the applicant. There really is not a great solution for this. If this was a brand new proposal for a car wash here, there's not a chance that I would support it. But this is an existing use that has been here for long before my time, and trying to work with that in the legal forms that we can. So I have a list of conditions, a long list of conditions from the community development comments and discussions that I've had with the applicant and the neighbors. I'll share what they really would be before I turn it over to the other counselors so that they know. Conditioning the hours, conditioning the lights of the vacuums and the pay station, conditioning some conditions that came from conservation that are simply about just any further construction outside, because this isn't a FEMA flood zone, and the signage that goes along to direct traffic, increase safety. The applicant is aware of the Central Street project that is kicking off next year, and how the curb cuts will reduce significantly at the edge of their property on Central Street. And they have responded to the community development comments to kind of mark those curb cuts before we actually do them with planters or some sort of aesthetically pleasing guardrail that would just make sure everyone knows this is where the driveway ends and this is where the sidewalk begins, type thing. And I think just from discussions tonight and discussions with the neighbors, we'll continue to talk about, I'd plan to condition the traffic flow of, getting into the vacuums and how they get out. But it's not an ideal situation, and I acknowledge that, and I appreciate the residents coming. There's also a development that is approved that abuts the driveway to get into this car wash. You basically have two abutting driveways on a very tight, narrow one-way street. That's a by right housing project that has been approved through other city boards. So we have a already very tight neighborhood with more townhouses being built that abut this property. So really trying to work with everyone, but at that point, I guess I'll turn it over to other counselors for comment.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Any other counselors with questions? Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Peach, would you mind just walking us through, I believe I understand this to be correct, but I'd love some clarification. So Monroe Monroe Court is a one-way, correct? Okay. Can you, Monroe Street, is Monroe Street a one-way?
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize.
Through the chair,
Yeah,
like if you're looking at this drawing here, you have Central Street on the left. The street that comes along the side where the vacuum stalls would be, that's Hardy Street. It's a one-way street that runs from Central Street down to Wallace Street. Monroe Street here is a one-way that runs from Elm down to Hardy. And Monroe Court is surprisingly a two-way street. If you've ever driven on it, you'd be a little scared. But in speaking with the neighbors, the way that the previous car wash operated for many, many years is the people that wanted an exterior clean only would come down Hardy Street, they would go up Monroe and into the back driveway of the car wash. Monroe used to be a two-way street until the condominiums on Walnut Street were put up. And from that development, there was change to Hardy and Monroe to make them both one-ways in an effort to keep additional traffic from that development going into this neighborhood. So that was when those changes came about. Obviously, the car wash operated the way it had far before these became one-way streets. They operated that way after they were one-way streets illegally. But you know, the neighbors have asked, you know, can we keep it the way it was? And I've been working with, speaking with public safety. One of the suggestions that I had come up with was making Monroe Street a one-way in the opposite direction. And there's just still some things to work out with that, as far as then residents will have to go to the square in order to get home. And it solves some problems, but then creates additional problems. So we're kind of at a point where trying to make this work in the best way possible, but that's kind of the history of this little area here, because the residents have asked, you know, can we just continue allowing them to go up Monroe Street? I can't condition the special permit to ask them to do something illegal. So that's something that I will have to continue to work on with the residents moving forward, so.
Thank you, Councilor Peach, and I know there's a lot going on in that somewhat small parcel there, so I appreciate you kind of walking us through. It seems, just for what it's worth, and I know it would be an ordinance change, and you know there's a lot more work to be done, but it seems to me like it'd be more of a natural progression if you came up Hardy and then you continued along Monroe Street. I know that's been done sort of against the one-way and against what's legally there now, but it seems if that's something that you're pursuing, that might be worth looking into, but I'll defer to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rossignol.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the petitioner, can you tell me the distance between the wall and Hardy Street? On this plan, it's very difficult to see. So if you're looking at the front, where these vacuums would be installed, the distance between the front of the vacuum to where the wall is that protects you from falling off into Hardy Street.
So the vacuum would be installed against the building, the south facade of the building.
Yep.
And the distance varies. It varies from 24 feet to 22 feet.
From
the vacuum,
building.
from the vacuum to the wall, to the back of the wall.
Okay. So with that said, so the length of a truck, let's say, that wants to get their vacuum, their truck vacuumed, is probably 8, 10 feet?
15, 16 feet.
15?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think, when you're talking, and how high is the wall from Hardy Street
It
up to the
varies
property?
from 4 to 2 feet, that wall.
2 to 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 at the western side and 4 or 5 on the other side.
So if I'm a truck parked in a stall, which is 15 feet in length, and another truck is coming in to go and get their truck vacuumed, there is very little room for a car to be getting their vacuum, a car to be leaving, and a car to be coming. That is a really narrow area when you're talking about a car widthwise and 2 cars lengthwise.
Right.
So my fear is with the number of spaces that you have on this proposal and the distance you have from Hardy Street to the building, that's a really dangerous situation when you're talking about basically the width of 3 cars in a 20-foot area. Thank you.
Did you want to respond? Or?
I think the distance is not 20, the distance from the back of the parking to the wall is 24 to 22 feet. So the distance from the concrete wall to the vacuum itself, it's 34 to 36 feet, I believe. That's what it was. So I was referring because you would require 24 feet for a two-way traffic, and most towns and cities would require 24-foot aisle, and we would meet that. But the stall would be won't be a parking stall at 18 or 19 feet. It would be at 12, the length of the car, like you said. So, and the width of the vacuum, the width of the vacuum is the vacuum stall. I believe it's 13 feet, if I'm not mistaken. So that gives additional maneuver for the parked car or truck in the stall to start maneuvering, leaving the parking.
So I was there today, and I was walking along Hardy Street and along Central Street, and the distance between the south side of that building and Hardy Street is extremely narrow, in my opinion, for a car lengthwise and 2 cars widthwise, which would be the scenario that you have established on these plans. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know Councilor Peach has worked very hard on this one. I don't envy you. This is a tough one. And Councilor Peach, I had mentioned to you at one point about some design standards that you've got that covered.
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you.
I have that listed as a condition.
That's contemplated in the conditions that
Yes.
you'd put forward. These things, beyond the traffic flow issues, which I think are very concerning, and I know Councilor Peach will do additional work on that to hopefully mitigate that if this goes forward tonight. And the traffic flow issues and everything are significant, as well as the lack of sidewalks in there. These vacuums themselves, I find to be, the version I've seen over in Salem, they're illuminated, and they're illuminated at night, and they're very ugly along the street line from a streetscape perspective. We've done a lot to improve the aesthetics of the area, and I'm hoping that we've got a lot more coming as a consequence of this TIP project on Central Street, which is north of a $15 million improvement project. So I don't want to see something that looks like a circus next to this building with all these vacuums lit like the ones I see over on Canal Street in Salem. As I look at this rendering here, the typical arch vacuum, they look just like those ones that I see in Salem. Is the arch itself lit? Does that have lighting across it, the top of it? Because
the top of it, yes.
It does. Is there an opportunity to take that lighting off? Is there a way to
That's the only lighting we have for the parking, and I can provide you with pictures at night, and you can see that the lighting is only over that spot, half of the car. or where you could just enough to vacuum around the car. It's a safety issue. And again, I have Mr. Calabro here, who's involved in the operation of the car wash. He can probably get more, but we don't have any lighting on the site except what's on top of the arch. And as I mentioned, those vacuums will be shut off at 7 o'clock in the wintertime and 8 o'clock in the summer. Most of the time, summertime, 8 o'clock, you probably still light out there. You probably won't be using them. I think the only time maybe in the wintertime between 4:30, 5 o'clock, and 7, those 2 hours that you would see lighting. But again, Mr. Calabro is here. We can probably answer more questions.
He can. I'll let him comment. But before he does, I don't agree with how you've described that. The lighting is not directed down at these vacuums in Salem. They appear to be exactly what you've pictured here. They illuminate the entire sidewalk. So the only thing that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with this is that exactly what you said, is that there's going to be limited night hours where this is going to be visible. That's not the case in Salem. I guess the other thing that makes me feel a little bit better about it is that they're against the building and not along the sidewalk, which is the case in Salem, and frankly, it looks horrible. So I'm sorry if the petitioner wants to add some comment, Mr. President.
Did you want to say something? You just need your name and address for the record.
No, Ken Calabro, Director of Car Wash Operations for Prestige. I just came to answer if you had concerns about lighting or operations. I think to your point of the lights, as Hal stated, they'd be off at 7 o'clock at night. They are against the building. We do like to have the area well lit while the customers are using them, especially during winter hours where you may have black, hopefully not, but possibly black ice, but just so that the areas are well lit for the customers. We do shut them down. We made the change to keep the vacuum motor inside the building to further reduce the noise and any disruption to the neighborhood, as we are in a residential area abutting the car wash. Just to go to the pre-existing non-conforming use, which is a mouthful, but it was always exterior or full service wash. So we're not. That's always existed. I mean, the traffic pattern is tight for sure, but that's been a pre-existing use. We're coming in to work with the neighbors and work with you folks to make everything work, to maintain a safe and well-lit business, and to provide a service for everyone. If there are any questions or concerns ever, we're easy to get in touch with. And I've been doing this for 30 years. Most recently, before I joined Prestige, I was with Hafner's. We worked with all the municipalities that we did business in, and like to be good neighbors, so that's our goal and our mission to go forward. We're certainly willing to do anything reasonable to work with the neighbors, and any concerns that any of the town boards or departments may have.
Thank you. Councilor McGinn?
Thank you. I like what you're saying about your commitment to work with the neighbors. I do reject your categorization that this is a pre-existing flow, that the neighbors are right, and as is Councilor Peach. I mean, I live very close to this car wash. I'm a customer of the car wash, and they're right. 5 to 10% use that rear entrance, and now it's going to be 100%. So it is not even close to the legacy flow. So, but I applaud your commitment to work with the neighbors and Councilor Peach and other city departments to try to make this as good as it can be. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few more questions for the petitioner. I understand that the lights are going to be shut off at night on the vacuums. Does your pay station, do those lights shut off at night?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And do you use, I see like in this rendition of the pay station here, there are some cones out. Do you cone off the area every night so people know you're shut down, or is that just there? It was just in the picture for some reason.
The area would be coned off at night.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And as far as your hours that you're requesting for, you're looking for summer and winter hours. Can you just define that? It's just like kind of a loose definition, and I'd rather kind of know. I know it gets warmer out different times of the year.
No,
Do you have a
it's-
general time frame?
Typically, we would roll with daylight savings.
Daylight savings, okay.
When it gets dark at 4 o'clock, we close at 7.
Okay, thank you. One of my other questions is what is your like projected timeline to open?
Right now, we're still remodeling the interior. We're probably a good 3 to 4 weeks out,
Okay.
I would say,
Okay.
approximately.
And the comments that I received from Conservation about the flood zone, so looking at the pictures of these vacuums, they're mounted to the ground. Are these ones mounted to the building, or will they be mounted to the ground?
Will be mounted to the ground. I did talk to Ms. Lucia.
Yes.
Yes. And we had exchange of emails, and I explained to her that there'll be no change to the grade in the parking lot. So those type of facilities, they can be attached right to the sidewalk. So you can just put a base, like a steel plate with 4 bolts, and attach the column to it. So if we have to, what we need to do, and I'm also looking into the possibility of installing those columns to the building, but that's not our preference but if we have to install them on the ground, all we have to do is dig a trench 12-inch wide by 12-inch deep along the entire length of the building, concrete, and flush with so we don't change the grade, flush with the grade, and bolt those units right to it. So there'll be no change to the flood whatsoever. But she also indicated she's not an engineer, whatever, so I said I'll reach out to her after we figure out exactly what we need to do, because if we come to your board and we don't get this permit, we're not going any further. So my next step would be to apply for a building permit, and on a building permit, I would have to show the details how this is going to be installed, and I'll reach out to her and I'll explain to her how we're not going to affect the flood in any way.
Thank you. I will condition, if we take this to a vote tonight, I would condition that, any outside work that is done, anything to the ground, my understanding in the FEMA flood zone, any digging of any sort, even when the grade is not changed, requires an NOI, so that can be evaluated by the engineers. So I will condition that, and I know you've said you'll go through those steps as you should through the building department. I think, and where you're looking for you're 3-4 weeks out minimum for an open date, there's still just questions about traffic flow that need to be worked out with public safety. I would request that we continue this to our January 12th hearing, where in that time period, those issues can be addressed with the neighbors. I would much rather bring this to a vote with full support of the neighborhood and full support of the rest of the counselors before we move forward. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we take action on Councilor Peach's suggestion, I just had one other quick question, if I could. The typical sequence when I go to a car wash or one of these self-service places is you vacuum first and then you go to the car wash. Are you expecting people to do the reverse here? Are you expecting people to actually come out of the vacuum and go all the way around the block to keep and go
It's
through?
really dealer's choice. I mean, at our other locations, we have some people that wash first and then vacuum, and just as many that vacuum first and then wash. So it's really, I can't give you a number. with any certainty on that. I think if you pull in, your car is filthy dirty on the inside, and you got, Dunkin' Donut cups, you're probably going to vacuum first and clean out your car and then run it through the wash. But I think that the way this building lays out, it probably makes the most sense to vacuum after the wash, just from a traffic flow point and just ease of use as a customer. I would think that they would be able to figure that out on their own. But some of the properties, they're all a little bit different, the way the traffic flows. And on this one, to me, as a potential user, it makes more sense to wash and then pull out and around into the vacuum and then exit the property.
It does to me too, except that's, I think, the inverse of what a lot of people are going to want to do. So maybe that's, as your Councilor Peach, as you're working through the traffic flow issues, that's something that gets conditioned, that they have to do it that way so we don't have people crisscrossing. Because right now you're saying it's dealer's choice. You're saying we're going to have some that are...
I think as a customer, any place that you frequent as a customer, you kind of figure out the best traffic flow that works for you as a customer. And I mean, looking at this just from experience and operating other locations, it makes the most sense to wash and then pull in and vacuum. Now, some people use the free vacuums and they don't wash at all. They'll just pull in, vacuum, clean out the car, and they'll exit the property and they won't wash. We really don't have any control over that, and it would be hard to, honestly, it would be hard to, well, it would be easy to mandate what to do. It would be hard to enforce that somebody wash first and then vacuum.
Mr. President, through you to the applicant, what in your business model, I think you've got like memberships, right? Is there?
Correct.
Yes,
sir.
Is that, are the majority of the people that are coming here going to be repeat?
Monthly members?
Yeah, or is that kind of a...
That really varies by location. Hard to say, whether it's 50-50, 75% member washes, 25%, full pay. It really varies by location. Another variable that we have is our sites that have gas, which obviously Peabody does not. Some people buy gas, get a discount at the pump, and then wash. Some people are members and then wash. So the splits can vary, but I would assume, based on experience, that probably at least half of the customers, it would be reasonable to say half of the customers would be monthly members.
So
and the average membership typically is around 3 times a month that they wash.
Councilor McGinn.
So thank you, Mr. President. So half the customers, we should expect that half the customers are going to be familiar with the traffic flow after they've done it a couple of times, and the other half, it's going to be, if they're going to, they're going to sort it out themselves. Kind of on the spot.
I think that would be fair to say. I think that, obviously the members that are there 3 times a month, 3-4 times a month, they're going to know, but you also have regular customers that just like to pay as they go. You might have people that just wash every other week or once a month or whenever the car's dirty, that are still regular customers on the site but just aren't members. Hard to predict the consumer's behavior.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have another operational question while you're here. Like looking at this queue and to get into the car wash from where you are at the pay station, not including the cars that have passed the pay station at that point, but it looks like you can fit on your rendition 10 cars because it's a 2-lane entrance. How long, on average, I don't know if you know this information, does it take really for a car to come in to the pay station and be able to, like if there are already cars in the tunnel, how long is it going to take? A big concern really is the cars queuing on the street. This is not a street you could pass by if there's a car sitting there legally or safely. And then especially with the future development that's been approved with a driveway that's basically lines right up with this one.
So if you were a club member and you pulled up to the pay station, it scans your tag, the gate opens, you pull forward. that takes less than 10 seconds to complete. If you come up to purchase a wash, and again, you would have to go on an average. To some people, the pay station, it's new technology. To a lot of us, it's like using an ATM. It's really no big deal. I want a wash, I want the basic wash, I'm gonna swipe my credit card, and I'm out. You're under 45 seconds of transaction. Gate opens, the car pulls forward. The conveyor change speed, which moves the cars through the building, we set that based on the volume of the day, anywhere from 120 cars an hour up to 160 cars an hour based on volume. We usually have a minimum change speed of 120 cars an hour regardless of what the hourly volume is, just so that, you know, moves the cars through at a reasonable clip and they get all the goods and services and the equipment and the chemistry all has time to work properly. I do not believe in this setup here that we're going to have an issue with traffic backing up down the hill onto the street.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd move to continue this meeting to our January 12th council meeting, and I would ask and I guess suggest that in the meantime, councilors who are not familiar with the area do take a look at it, as we'll be discussing more traffic flow pattern, public safety issues to finalize this.
From Councilor Peach, Councilman McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you could indulge me with one more operational question, I'm just hoping that if we get this information now, it might be useful in the additional work that gets done before the next meeting. Why 14 vacuums? Again, looking at the operation over in Salem, I'm over there all the time. I go by there all the time. I have never once seen them use anywhere near the full amount of vacuums they have over there. So, I mean, you've got 3 now. I understand that under the old operation, a lot of the vacuuming was done by the
well, there were 3.
Excuse me, sir. You
Sorry,
have to
let him
wait.
finish.
Okay?
Thank you.
But 14 seems like an awful lot. I mean, I see, it says 13 on the plan. I see 14 spots.
There are, I think.
What percentage of the time would you actually need 14? The reason I'm asking is it's by taking every square inch of that side of the building for vacuums, you're eliminating an area that could be used to potentially queue some cars or you know, get some activity off of the streets. So that's what I would like to better understand.
Certainly. So typically, when we go to a site and we lay out a vacuum center, Salem, for instance, typically the sites are 12 feet wide. And we would ideally go down the side of the building as much as we could, just to provide as many sites as we could in a safe manner that, you know, certainly didn't jeopardize traffic flow or customer or employee safety. In this particular site, I believe we went 14 feet wide at the sites closest to the building, just because of the stone wall and the wall in the back, just to allow some extra room to maneuver. And then we went the typical every 12 feet. You know, we would certainly, while we would like to not give up vacuum spaces, as it does draw a lot of business, we're certainly open-minded that, you know, if the board felt that it was in everybody's best interest to give up, you know, a couple of spaces, that we may be able to do that.
Councilman McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just, if you could answer my question, I think what you've said is you've put in 14 because there's space for 14, but how often are you actually going to need 14 vacuums? I mean,
Well, that's hard to say. I mean, the volume.
Well, I mean, you run multiple car washes, and you've got data from these other operations.
Right.
My observation, I've been seeing that one over in Salem for quite some time now. I've never once seen any more than a couple of cars there. So I can't fathom a set of circumstances where there'd be 14 going in simultaneously. So
Typically.
Just, are you done, Councilman McGinn?
Thank you, Mr. President, I am.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm
You can
sorry,
respond.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but, so typically what you'll see, if a customer pulls in, they typically will not pull in unless there's no choice directly next to another car. They like to leave a space in between, gives everybody plenty of room to maneuver around, vacuum out both sides of the vehicle, you know, without dinging the car next to you when you open the passenger side door or something like that. You know, there's no way that I can give you an accurate estimate of how often all 14 sites would be full. That would just be a wild guess. You know, as I said, customer behavior that I've observed over the years since the free vacuums came into vogue is you're vacuuming every other space, typically.
Okay, thank you. So from that, I take that it's typically, if it's, you need 50% of them if you to leave that larger space. But I'm, you know, I hear what you're saying. You don't want to give me a number, and I'm just going to go with what I've observed, that it would be a very, very, very rare circumstance that you would have that many going in parallel. Mr. President, I thank you for indulging me and coming back to me multiple times. Thank you.
No problem, Councilor. Councilor Turco.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly through you, Mr. President, to the petitioner. Did you say 160 cars per hour that the machine is set for to operate?
Only during a peak time where we might be washing an inordinate amount of cars, and that really varies by site. I do not project this site to be 160 car an hour.
Mr. President, if I may, I just want to clarify, the system, the length of the tunnel with the conveyor system that we have has the capacity to move 160 cars per hour. That doesn't mean that you're going to have 160 cars at the site. That's what, correct?
What he said.
Okay, that sounds a bit better to me, because 160 just scared the life out of me.
No.
But,
well, it just, you know, you have the capacity, and honestly, the number that we use is called tunnel utilization. So for easy math, if it's set at 100 cars, if the change speed is set at 100 cars an hour, and you're washing 80 and there's no line, you're at 80% tunnel utilization. You still have room to fill in some gaps. You know, I do not foresee us washing 160 cars an hour at the Peabody location. I just threw that out as, you know, we can adjust the change speed based on the volume at the individual sites.
Okay, so now that we're on that topic, as the consultant, and I apologize, I forget your name, but as the consultant, you must have given them a number of what they expect per hour during a peak period during the summer. So do you have those numbers available, I imagine?
I don't have that, Mr. Counselor. This is an existing car wash, and what we do traffic projections, but mostly car washes are not traffic destinations. So, believe it or not, 90% of my work is gas stations and convenience stores and Dunkin' Donuts and car washes. Those businesses we refer to as, they're not traffic destinations. They draw their traffic from the street, what we refer to as pass-by traffic. So either you live in the area, you work in the area, you're not driving your car from Salem or from next town over to go wash your car there. So, and again, this probably answers some of the concerns that the other councilor has. Most of those people that use in this facility, I'm pretty much sure that probably be 80% of those guys that, the clients that they are all the time. So the first time you go wash your car, if the pattern's not to what you need to do, you adjust. The same thing with the Dunkin' Donuts. So you go to a Dunkin' Donuts where there's 12 cars in the drive-through, you know what? You just drive by, you go to the next Dunkin' Donuts. It's a preference on the clients. What we were referring to before, too, with the 160 cars, that means you're never going to have that issue with cars backing out to Monroe. This is the concern, and that's what we were concerned about, you know. So we're not going to have that in Peabody. And again, in other locations, we offered that if this ever becomes a problem, we call for traffic for detailing, too. But have you ever called for, with the 25 locations that you have you ever called for detailing?
No.
So it's, again, unfortunately, it's a tight site. It's an existing car wash. We're trying to improve the circulation, and I'm willing to work with Councilor Peach on that too, and we can try to tweak the site plan in a matter that we can work with.
Thank you. I just reminded, we do have a motion on the floor for a continuance. So, Councilor Turco, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't. My apologies.
No,
Actually,
no, not
my
at all.
initial question was if we were to vote to not continue it and say deny this permit, it doesn't resolve the issue for the residents as far as traffic. Right? So we would still be in the same boat. That was my only question. Thank you.
Councilor O'Neill, you're all set? Any other councilors? So we do have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Councilors Gould.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yep.
Peach.
Yes.
Welton.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Daigle.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
So it's going to be continued. All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Moving on to reports of committee. We've already done the industrial and community development. We did have a committee of the whole and executive session dealing with litigation regarding the Toltz litigation, and that is the report of committee. Moving on to item 6, motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Gould? No motions from Councilor Gould. Moving on to item, Councilor Rozignol.
Thank you, Mr. President. The state has limited what we have been able to do as far as trash goes. They've limited the ability to throw textiles and mattresses away. So I'd like to make a motion to request the mayor to put out an RFP to increase our textile recycling program. Right now, the schools do a fantastic job with the bins. I do not want this to affect that in any way, shape, or form, but I do want to add and increase the amount of bins we have on city property, whether there's a bin here at City Hall or one at a library or a fire department. So my motion would be to request the mayor to put out an RFP for increasing our textile recycling program. So moved.
You heard the motion from Councilor Rozignol. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? To vote. Councilor Rozignol.
No further motions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Rozignol. Councilor Welton.
No motions this evening, but do you want me to clean up some of these?
That'd be great. And we'll
All
come
right.
back to you, Councilor Peach, after that.
All right,
Councilor
great.
Welton.
Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Renewals for taxi driver license. Item 9A, Charles Diorio, license 12. Bruce Schwartz, license 13. Matthew Diorio, license 14. So moved.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? To vote. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of rules, item 9B, Class 1 motor vehicle license 2023 renewals. Acura of Peabody, 233 Andover Street. Audi Peabody, 252 Andover Street. BMW of Peabody, 221 Andover Street. BMW of Peabody, 7 Centennial Drive. Jaguar Land Rover Peabody, 247 Newberry Street. Mini of Peabody, 209 Andover Street. Tesla Motor, 210 Andover Street. So moved.
You heard the motion from Councilor Welton. All in favor? Any opposed? To vote. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Item 9C, Class 2 motor vehicle license 2023 renewals. AC Auto Sales, 3A Bourbon Street. Auto Choice of Peabody, 249 Andover Street. Auto Factory, 156 Newberry Street A. Auto Factory, 288 Newberry Street. Auto Mall Collection, 218 Andover Street. Bill's Auto Sale, 256 Newberry Street. Brake Lights Motorsport, 131 Newberry Street. Carcraft, 258 Newberry Street. Century Tire Company of Peabody, 53 Walnut Street. Desi's Used Car, 108 Newberry Street. Elite Pre-Owned Auto, 153 Newberry Street. 4-Star Service, 134 Newberry Street, Unit RUB. King Motors, 1R Newberry Street, Suite 101. Louis BMW Specialist, 260 Newberry Street. Michael Motors, 1 Sylvan Street. New Star Motors, 161 Washington Street. Oasis Auto and Truck Center, 7.5 Mason Street. PK Motorcars, 195 Washington Street. Prestige Motors of Peabody, 257 Andover Street. R&A Automotive, 26 Lake Street. Sacco's, 119, 121 Lynn Street. Spiro Auto Sales, 90 Margin Street. Summit Auto Sales, 14 Newbury Street. Unlimited Sales, 3 Burning Street. Walnut Street Auto Sales, 55 to 57 Walnut Street. White Auto, 258 Newbury Street, Unit D. So moved.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Walton, want to keep going?
Sure. Excuse me. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Item 9D, Class 3 Motor Vehicle License 2023 renewals. Garisi's Brothers Auto and Truck Salvage, 0 Corwin Street. Peabody Auto Collision, 9B Rear Collar Street. Peterson's Automotive, 114 Newbury Street. Pinto Recycling, 147 Summit Street, Building 3C and 3D. So moved.
Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. Council Welton.
Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Item 9E, Entertainment License 2023 renewal for Bertucci's, 15 Newbury Street. Cabaret Lounge, 96 Newbury Street. Capone's Restaurant, 147 Summit Street. Century House of Peabody, 235 Andover Street. Cheesecake Factory, 210 Andover Street. Club Louis de Camo, 10 Collins Street. Double Bull Tap House, 210 Andover Street. Eatery, 58 Marketplace, 58 Pulaski Street. Golden Banana, 151 Rare Newbury Street. Greg's Lounge, 50 Walnut Street. Green Tea, 126 Newbury Street. In the Game, 535 Lowell Street. Italian American Citizens Club, 7 Blaney Ave. Legal Seafood, 210 Andover Street. Next Mex Thing, 5 Central Street. Not Your Average Joe's, 210 Andover Street. Portuguese American War Veterans, Post 1, 103 Tremont Street. Portuguese Benefit Society, 61 North End Street. Red's Kitchen and Tavern, 131 Newbury Street. Santarpio's Pizza, 71 Newbury Street. Spare Time Tavern, 63 Foster Street. Spinelli's LLC, 10 Newbury Street. St. Michael's Archangelo Polish Society, 15 Endicott Street. Sugarcane Restaurant, 106 Main Street. Sylvan Street Grill, 12 Sylvan Street. Toscano Forno, 3 Bourbon Street. So moved.
Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Let's finish the page, Counselor.
Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Item F, Lodging House, 9F, Lodging House Licenses 2023 renewal. Shalkas Brothers, 14.5 Foster Street. So moved.
Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Welton.
Mr. President, thank you. Item 9G, all papers being in order. Inholder License 2023 renewal. Boston Marriott Peabody, 8A Centennial Drive. Peabody Holiday Inn, 1 Newbury Street. So moved.
Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. Council Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Item 9H, General Licenses 2023 renewal. Bowling Alley License, Metro Bowl, 63 Foster Street. Limousine License, Michael Limousine Company, 161 Lynn Street. Limousine License, Roadhouse Limousine, 55 Pulaski Street. Limousine License, Sir Charles Limousine, 200 Lake Street. Pool and Billiard License, Metro Bowl, 63 Foster Street. Taxi Cab License, Sunshine Car Services, 153 Newbury Street. So moved.
Hear the motion from Council Welton. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. We also have late 4. Council, you want to just knock that out?
Sure thing. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive item late communication 4. So moved. Do we already receive?
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. Council Welton.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Late 4 communication, item A, Class 2 Motor Vehicles, 2023 renewal. D&D Auto Sales Repair, 36B Walnut Street. 222 Newbury Motors, 222 Newbury Street. Tri-City Services, 55-R Walnut Street. So moved.
Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? To the vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Late communication 4B, Entertainment License 2023 renewal. Azorian Brotherhood of Divine Holy Ghost, 20 Howley Street. DNR Roadhouse Pub, 55 Pulaski Street. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive all papers being in order. Move to receive and approve all papers being in order. Late 4C, General Licenses 2023 renewals of Inholder License Hampton Inn Boston Peabody, 59 Newbury Street. Inholder License Homewood Suites Boston Peabody, 57 Newbury Street. Limousine License Tri-City Services 55R Walnut Street. Taxi Cab License Tri-City Services 55R Walnut Street. Taxi Cab License Non-City Salem Taxi Company 30 Federal Street, Suite 302, Salem. So moved.
Okay, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Council, did you have anything else?
No further anything this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Councilor Daigle owes Councilor Welton a gift basket or something. Move to, under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8C.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. President. No further motions this evening. I just want to remind the public that there is a Mass DOT meeting on Tuesday, the 13th, at the Senior Center at 6 p.m. to discuss the changes on 114, changes that have happened, and then the, I guess, stage 2 of the changes to 114. So that's, again, Tuesday the 13th at 6 p.m. at the Terigian Senior Center. And I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8B. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to the vote? Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I should have noted that that should go to the aggregate committee, so I apologize for that. Under suspension of rules, move to receive item 8H and refer that to the Legal Affairs Committee. So moved.
You heard the motion from Councilor O'Neill. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. No further motions, but last I did want to recognize Council President Melville and thank him for his work guiding the council for the past 12 months. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate that. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7A and refer to finance. So moved.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7B and refer to finance. So moved.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7E and refer to finance. So moved.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. No further motions. Just adding to my colleague his comments about the great job you did this year, Mr. President. Appreciate your leadership, and we'll welcome you back to the seats here in the next year to come. So thanks again for your hard work.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, I have a motion tonight to request Public Services to look at Frontage Road. Frontage Road is located between Summit Street and Forest Street. It runs parallel with 128. It's on the Arboretum side, the condominium side, to add up to 6 streetlights in that area. It's very dark at night, and that's 2 curves there that are very dangerous. Would I like to try to have that illuminated? So move.
You heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, under suspension of the rules, 8A, through you to the city clerk. Have we figured out the tax situation with that?
I have not received a receipt that they have paid their taxes, no.
I'm going to refer this to another meeting.
You heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. Councilor Gamache.
Yes, under suspension of the rules, 8D, special permit application for 468 Lowell Street. Move to receive and set up a public hearing.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gamache.
8F, move to receive that and refer that to the Municipal Safety Commission.
You heard the motion from Councilor Gamache. All in favor? Any opposed? Councilor
And
Gamache.
while I'm at it, I might as well do 8K. That hasn't been done yet, correct?
That has not been done yet.
Okay, move approval on the appointments to the Community Development Authority. Gary Boer, Community Development Authority, 1-year term, 12/31/23, and Brian Vinagro, Community Development Authority, 1-year term, 12/31/23. So moved.
Before we go on the motion, Councilor O'Neill, was there an address that needed to be corrected on this?
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, Mr. Brewer he lives at 36 Emily Lane, rather than the one that's listed on that document. Thank you.
We'll amend the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? As a vote, Councilor Gamache.
So, okay, that, I believe, does it for me. Item G, oh yeah, under suspension of the rules, the communication from Beverly Griffin Dunn, Essex North Agricultural and Technical School, Peabody pamphlet, so moved.
Hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? As a vote, Councilor Gamache.
I think that does it. Correct?
Yep.
No further motions.
Thank you, Councilor Gamache. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Rossignol kind of touched on it already with the restrictions on, what we're picking up for textiles, but you may have noticed, I think we've all noticed the excess mattresses that are now strewn about many of our streets. I hate to put this on code enforcement, but I think that's our only alternative. If we could, Clerk Danforth, send a memo to Randy from code enforcement to actually put notices on the doors of the homes where these mattresses are, that they'll be fined if they're not removed from the front of the property. To name a few, Linfield Street, Lynn Street, there's many, but I believe there's also some on Lowell Street and other neighborhoods. So moved.
You hear the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? As a vote, Councilor Turco.
No further motions.
Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. President. And on the same token of the textile motions, I do want to point out that DPW does apply a certain amount of grant money so that residents are able to buy that $20 sticker. It actually costs a lot more than that for the city to dispose of them. So we're really lucky to have that option for $20. I encourage people to take advantage of it because it is a deal. They're actually saving money. So thank you for Public Services for pursuing that and making that a priority, especially now. One quick update on the Lowell, Endicott, and King Street intersection. We had a municipal safety meeting a month or two ago about this topic, and since then the city has hired World Tech Engineering to evaluate the traffic signal improvements, and they provided a number of possible solutions. I'm going to continue to work with Public Services, the Mayor's Office, and Public Safety, and after the holiday we'll be putting it out for bid. So I'd like to thank Rose Bevins and all the neighbors that have brought this to our attention, and hopefully sometime next year it will be safer for all of us. Thank you, Mr. President. It's been a great first year. I've learned a lot from you. I don't think I could ever do as great of a job that you have done, and happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you, Councilor. I don't have any motions. I just wanted to thank Allison and the whole clerk staff this year. They're fantastic. They did such a good job helping me, and I look forward to that. I want to thank all my fellow councilors this year. Yep. Yeah, you deserve it. I want to thank all my fellow councilors. Whenever there was a debate, it was always a respectful one, and I really appreciated that. No one appreciates that more than the person sitting here. So, I really do appreciate that. And, we got a lot of good things started. I think we'll get a lot done next year that will start this year. And I really look forward to next year. So thank you very much, and I'll take a motion to adjourn. Councilor O'Neill?
I apologize, Mr. President. Thank you. I made an early motion regarding correspondence 8H. That is the letter that I wrote to the council to consider changing that. I referred it to legal, but that should properly go to finance. So I would like to, under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8H and refer it to Finance Committee. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. And then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.